Hi, this is Dara, and this is how I set up my Notion. This is part of a series, and we are now on video number 6, I believe. So if you have not seen this from the beginning, I encourage you to go back. Everything I'm building here is interrelated to each other, and so it's kind of important that they build on top of each other. And if you've missed the past ones, you might get lost. But in this one, I'm going to set up my notebook. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, I'm going to create a table. And again, I want this to be a full page table. There's not going to be anything on the notebook, above the notebook, so it doesn't need to have live on a page. It could just be a page within the light flow. All right, so, and as you saw in other videos, I found that it's easier to work with the properties by opening up an entry. So for this one, I'm going to do a date. Oop, I didn't call it date. Okay, and actually, I don't want to do the date. I want to do created um, time. So as soon as I create a note, it's automatically going to add that date for me. I'm not going to do that manually. So if you saw how I was doing task, with task, I am creating the dates manually, in particular because I'm mostly concerned with the due date, not the creation date. But a notebook, like it happens on a day. And so I actually want to show here's the day I wrote that note, and it can just pick up the date for me. I don't have to do that manually. Now uh, I also want to put a edit date. In case I do go back and edit the date, I want to say that. So last edited. Now, if I'm sharing this, I can also show who it was edited by, but it's just and who it's created by, but it's just me, so I don't need to do all that. All right, and then yeah, all right, and then I'm going to do what project it belongs to as a. Ooh, I have that twice. That's funny. I'm going to give it a tag. I'll do the projects, but let's give it a tag first. So I'm going to use multi-select for a tag cloud. So I can just put, endless things. So if I'm trying to search for notes, I can say, like, let's say this is the herbal project, and I'm doing I have a bunch of different notes about chamomile. Then I can do a search and find all my notes related to chamomile. All right, so the other thing I'm going to relate it to now it's going to relate to my projects, my journal, and my tasks. So those are the things where I would be writing notes for. I'd be writing notes for projects. I could be writing note for a task. I can be writing notes that are just kind of general daily thoughts that I also want to track in my journal. I used the example just now of writing a note for my herbal studies, but I actually will probably have a separate herbal studies notebook that's different from the rest of my life flow. This is going to be more about everything else. I think just the herbal studies and the homeschool need to be their own universes. Anyway, that's a side thought. You can do that however you want. So I'm going to say project, and it's going to be a relationship to projects table and task. And relationship to task table. Okay, let's take this out. Um, all right, so I created the table today. Those 3 empty records, they are created as today, but let's delete these. All right. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and create a new note. And I'm going to call this the herbal one. So this one's just a memory. If you hit return, it creates another record. And for me, it's kind of a pet peeve because I do that a lot as I hit enter. So I'm just going to copy paste. So this is a little story about my daughter and her allergies and how she's, now that she's an herbalist, she's refusing to take pharmaceuticals to deal with her allergies. She wants to, use herbs. And I was out of herbs and suggested that while I was, it was late at night, I was suggesting, that the next day I would go to the store and get her what she needs. But in the meantime, she could just like take a Benadryl. And she's like, no, I don't want to take that. She refused. She would rather suffer than take pharmaceutical. And I try to explain it nowadays. I mean, you can still, pharmaceuticals are still good. You can still take pharmaceuticals. We just want to lessen the amount. But it's still a valuable option if you don't have, you know, something else going on. Anyway, so that's going to be one. And then um, let me show you how I do the notebook on the home page. So remember I said I was going to do notebook. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to create it down here and drag it over. So again, a linked database, and it's going to be the notebook. And I want to do the list view because I want to make this as small as possible. But I don't want to show any notes here. That sounds weird, but you'll see why. Um, so filter and um, so just the name is empty. And so I don't have any empty records. So now it's just the button for creating a new note. That's it. That's all I want here because this is going to live um, actually inside a toggle. Notes, notebook. And let's make it a toggle. So I can make it a toggle by using the bracket and changing the type, or I could just use a arrow, and now it's a toggle, and you can see that if I open close it. So let's go ahead and put this inside, and then I'm going to move this whole thing here. Let's get rid of this. I could have probably turned that text into a toggle, but whatever. So now whenever I want to make a note, I can just click here and I could say new note, and I'm going to create a note. So let's say this is, let's do something tied to a project because that last one was just kind of thinking about the day. But this one is going to be about an actual process, minutes. Minutes for design review. And I'm going to tie that to a project. Let's go back to Acme. I think that's the one I have stuff in, right? And then I don't have a task. So let's say I want to actually create a task. So this is why this is cool. So I can create a task here. When you have this relational database, you can create what you need in the relationship. You don't have to take something that's already there. So I'm going to create a new task that's update designs based design review. Okay, create new page. And now, of course, this is empty, so I want to go in and open that and just tie that quickly to a project. Okay, and then I'm going to jump back to this notebook so I can finish what I was doing. It's got my automated correction dates, and I could put notes here like update. Okay, and then whatever like we talked about, that would be the note. I mean, hopefully my minutes are more than just a line item. It's not really true. When I take minutes, I mean, because usually I'm presenting, I just take the notes that I want to make sure that whoever's taking notes doesn't miss, like the things that I know I have to act on. That's what I write down. And then I will get the meeting notes from the person taking the notes because it's really hard to present and note take at the same time. But I want to make sure that I capture the things that are going to be like, I fail if nobody captured this. Um, I'm not going to put any tags on this. All right, and then you see here in the notebook, it doesn't show, it's hidden, right? So that was just the point to create the new notebook. And if I come over now to our task, we can see that we now have this new relationship of related to notebook. And I'm just going to rename that to notes. And then for the cleanliness of this page, I mean, I could imagine, especially like a big project or a big task, these are going to get, um, they're going to start having a lot of stuff in them. So I don't need to keep track of all the notes in this table view. So I'm going to come into properties, and you saw with the calendar that we can hide these. So I'm just going to hide the notebook from this view. Okay. All right. And then while I'm still on the notebook, I'm going to come back to the projects. I'm going to come back to Acme. And in this card, of course, I can see now that there was a notebook here, but this field is, I mean, like I said, this is going to get crazy. It's going to be hard to watch this, but I can do that the same way I put the notebook on the home page, I could put a notebook on here. So let's go ahead and create that relationship or create that link. So I'm going to put the notebook here. I want to add a view, and I'm going to say list view because I want it to be simple and contained. All right. But then I also want to filter this for only the things that are related to this project. So project contains Acme. And now I can see in this place, when I come into my Acme and I'm viewing this project, I can see all the notes that are related to this project. And by the way, while we're in here, let's do that for task as well. So now I'm not going to necessarily do this for all of my projects. Now, some of the projects don't need that. That's overkill. But this is a major client project. It's a 3-year appointment. So I might as well go ahead and start tracking these things. And maybe because I'm doing that, maybe I want to give the notebooks a status of like closed as well. Yeah, let's do that. But let's finish the task table first. So again, I want the same kind of view for the task. Oops, task. And I want it again to be filtered where the project is Acme. Okay, so these are my 2 tasks for Acme. Maybe I might have some sorting functionality. Um, that's something we're missing in task. So let's go back and fix the notebook and fix task. So for task, I would actually like to create a property of priority. Priority. And let's just make it a simple number, right? So here, I'm going to say if it's really important, it's a 4. I'm not going to give a priority to everything. Now let's make it a 1. I'm not going to give a priority to everything, but if it has a priority, that priority item should sort to the top. And then remember we have the status as well. So now let's go to notebook, and I wanted to add that status. Okay, so if it has a status of closed, let's just give this a status so that's there. So it means I've handled that node. I don't need that node anymore. See, there's me hitting enter again. So let's go back to projects. Let's go back into Acme. And now let's add this filter. So another filter is N status is not closed, in which case that goes away. So I've already created the notes that I needed, and of course I didn't lose it. It's still here, but I don't need it to be here. And then here, what did we add? We added priority. So sort by priority. And I mean, that was the same order, but you get the point. All right. So that's how I can use my notebook, and it's kind of giving you some indications on how I'm going to do my journal. The journal is going to be a great place for tracking what I did today. So let's come back and do that. I'm going to mark off notebook is done. And yes, come back. This is really we're almost through. Just three more. All right. So yeah, stay tuned, come back, and I will talk to you next time.